I do want to do some announcements. Okay. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm trying to get myself together. I'm a little bit all over the place today. I have a couple of things that I want to remind you of, and then some information to share with you. First of all, question of the day. You guys know why we do question of the day? We do question of the day because that way we get attendance every single day, right? Okay, so if I do a question of the day for today, a question of the day for tomorrow, and a question of the day for the next day, if you upload every single one of those questions of the day, one day, it only counts for that day because it tells me what day you've uploaded it. That's why it's very important that you upload it on the day that it is supposed to be uploaded. The question for day 14 goes on that date. Question for day 15 goes on that date. Because once you upload it, it shows the date on Genzabar on my side. And if you've uploaded it that day, it's only an assignment for that day, for that attendance. Does that make sense? So please, I know that it's more convenient for you to upload it all at one time, but for the grading and attendance aspects of that, I need you to upload it on the day that I've asked. I give it to you ahead of time, so you can for sure answer it ahead of time, but upload it on the day that it's due, please. Okay? Second thing, if you go into news and announcements where we keep our week at a glance, I've uploaded something there for typing practice. Have any of you seen that? Miss Kelly has seen it. So get in there and look at it. You don't have to do that one. You can go and find your own. You can Google it, you know, typing practice, increase typing speed. Why do you think that's important?
You need to be able to type.
Typing is fun.
Yeah, front office work, even billing and coding, you have to do a fair amount of typing. And so although you don't need to be able to type 75 words a minute, you know, it's just a really good skill to have. So during this module and the next module, I'd like for you to spend some time practicing and sharpening those typing skills, okay? Find one for your number pad, because if you're doing billing, you're going to be using that number pad a lot, and you need to be able to look at a piece of paper and do your numbers without looking. So those are things that are just going to make, when you start your career and you're actually doing that office work, it's going to make it easier for you. It's going to make your skills a little more sharp. Remember, we want to sharpen some of our skills. So that is in news and announcements. But again, you don't have to use that one. You can use whichever typing resource that you want to. My new ladies, did you guys get a chance to go in and look at your week at a glance?
No, ma'am, I didn't. My problem is getting into stuff. Hello, can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
My problem is getting into stuff like the reminders. It kept saying I couldn't edit my birthday, which I wasn't trying to edit my birthday anyways, but it was like, it was time to type it in and it wouldn't allow me to. So it wouldn't allow me to go any further than that. And then.
Well, I was talking to you on Remind though, so I have no idea why it's being silly like that, because when we were texting back and forth, I'm actually texting you on Remind, so I don't know why it's giving you an issue.
No, I'm not sure either, because like if I open my email, it's fine. I can respond back to you on my email, but not the app itself.
Okay. Well, we will figure out what's going on with that. But if you can't get me on Remind, please privately text me, and we'll just make sure that you're working good, you know, over the rest of this week. But you were able to get in your e-learning page or your Genzabar, right?
Yes, ma'am. My the Evolve page.
Your Evolve is where your ebooks are. Your Genzabar or your e-learning page is where you get your assignments and you upload your assignments.
No, ma'am, I haven't gotten into that.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to share the screen and we're going to get into that page, okay?
Okay. That
Okay,
works.
so it's the same exact page where you did your orientation, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you get into this, you're going to click ONBC 156. That is your only current, your course right now. So you're going to get into that. Your latest news is where I'm talking about your week at a glance is. When you click on your week at a glance, I'm sorry, I have to click 10 times. I apologize.
No, it's fine because
And you know what? My doggone it. My Microsoft has expired, so I have to get in and do that today. I forgot about that. Y'all bear with me. I'm having technical difficulties. Okay, so you can get in and look at your week at a glance there. I'm sorry I can't pull it up for you right now because, like I said, I have to get in and do my Microsoft stuff today. But when you get into your coursework, you're going to see a list of your assignments. If you use your week at a glance and match these up, then you're going to be able to see where you are and what you need to do. You guys are starting today on day 13. You're not responsible for anything before day 13. I will drop all of those other grades, okay?
yes, ma'am.
So you're only going to do what's on day 13 and what comes after that. So in order to get into your SIM chart for the medical office to do your exercises, over in this gray portion here, you see SIM chart for the medical office. You're going to click that. Then you're going to launch your SIM chart. Make sure your cookies are, your pop-up blocker is off. And you're looking for something called Simulation Playground. You're going to click that, and then you're going to follow the instructions that are in your book. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to know,
That was
is
a
there
little, is this what it's supposed to look like, right? no. You
No.
don't go in through your ebooks. Go to the page that you did your orientation on.
Okay.
That's where you're going to go in. You're not going to go in through your Evolve books. That's not the right site. Where to go to myunitech edu.ta, I think. Is that it? Kelly, what is it?
I think it's T something.
Yeah, it's myunitech.edu.ta.
Okay, just 1 second. You say my Unitech. It's in the
TA.
chat.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Let me check.
It's my.unitech.ta.edu. Did you not save it whenever you did your orientation?
No, I did my orientation over the phone. Well, on my phone. I knew I wasn't home on my laptop yet.
Okay.
So I can just go back in the email and download it from there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you do that, then if you have any questions, let me know.
Yes.
Excuse me, guys.
I get mine through my email.
Okay. All right, Hezekiah, just if you have any trouble later getting into that, let me know. Either one of you, let me know, and we can go back through and get, do it slowly together. All right, so what are we doing today? I don't know. What am I doing? It's been a crazy morning. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about today is answering the phones. How many of you know how to answer a phone?
I do.
How many of you know how to answer a phone in a business?
I do.
Antoinette raises her hand as she has her. Okay, so how important, I think last week I did a question of how important is a first impression?
Very.
Very. How many of you have called a doctor's office to make an appointment and didn't like the sound of the lady who answered the phone or the way you were treated, and you didn't go to the appointment and you found another doctor?
This morning.
This morning, right? We've all done that, correct? So what happens if the doctor's expecting, and guys, they do numbers and they look at trends, and everybody keeps up with how many expected new patients or returning patients they're going to have every month, because that's what they base a budget on, right? So if you're up front answering the phones and your doctor has, instead of having 25 new patients for the month, he only has 16, they're going to start looking at what's going on. So you have to have, I work customer service at Walmart, so I'm great customer service voice. So you have to have that customer service voice, because even though this is not somebody you're checking out at Walmart or you're selling a cell phone to or whatever, they're still a customer, because they still pay you money for a service. So as crazy as it seems that it's customer service, even in a health facility, it is still customer service. And so we have to be able to answer the phone, and we have to be able to take a message. We have to be able to do all of these things in an effective way. So I'm going to show a little video on taking a message, but I want you to look at it, because maybe she's doing it right, maybe she's not. Then we're actually going to go into our SIM charting, and we're going to talk about where you go to put in a phone message for the doctor. Okay, so let's do that. You guys know I have to do something. Oh, come on, let me in. Are you kidding? Okay, hang on, I have to find it again. Y'all don't fire me.
Hi, this is Dr. Waite's office. This is Amber. Sorry that I missed you. Darn. Hi, this is Dr. Waite's office again. This is Amber. I'm calling to remind, darn. Hi, this is Dr. Waite's office. Sorry, I got cut off. I'm calling to remind Hazel Burke about her appointment tomorrow at one more time. Okay. Hi, this is Dr. Waite's office calling to remind Hazel Burke about her appointment tomorrow at 1:30. Please call 555-2020 if you have any questions. Thank you. Leaving messages is so stressful. Of course it would be stressful if you had to go through that with every call. But by remembering a few simple elements, leaving phone messages can be quite simple. First, have everything you need before you make the call. For instance, if you're calling to remind a patient about their appointment, have the schedule, directions to the office, and the instructions for the patient right in front of you. Know what you're going to say. Identify who's calling and where you're from. Speak very clearly and slowly to make sure the message can be understood. Provide your phone number at the beginning as well as the end of the message to give the caller time to grab a pencil and paper. Finally, provide the important information you're calling about. According to HIPAA, appointment reminders in the form of phone messages are part of treatment and can be made without an authorization from the patient. Of course, respect the patient's privacy by only leaving the bare essentials in the message. Who's calling, your phone number, and appointment time, or ask them to call back for the information. According to HIPAA, the message can be left on an answering machine or with a friend or family member that answers the phone if the patient is not at home. But if the patient asks for a different method of notification, it's considered a reasonable request that should be honored. In a busy office, the skill of taking messages cannot be overlooked. And in the healthcare field, taking a complete and accurate message is more important than ever. So what constitutes a complete and accurate message? Make certain to get the caller's full name with correct spelling. I'd be happy to take a message for Dr. Waite. May I tell him who called? Hazel, and your last name? Burke? Could you spell that for me, please? B-U-R-K, okay. And phone number. And the phone number you can be reached at with area code, please. Okay, let me repeat that back to you then. As much information about the message as possible. May I tell him what this is regarding? Okay, all right. Guarantee prompt delivery of the message, but not the time the call will be returned. I'll be happy to give Dr. Waite the message immediately. Thank you so much for calling. Yes, goodbye. Before you deliver the message, make certain to include the date and time of the call and your name in case there's a problem. Deliver the message right away, even if you don't think there's an immediate urgency to the call, because it's not your decision. This educational tool is designed to help you and the members of your practice with all aspects of telephone training. From the main menu, simply choose the areas that are most important to you and your office team members.
Okay, first of all, how did we love the 80s pantsuit? I know that this is funny, but guys, I've used this series of videos over and over and over again, and they're so good, even though they're silly. Oh, doggone it. Hang on.
Or online at hobbylobby.com.
Okay, so now I want to go to Hobby, but anyway. So that told us two different sides of taking a phone message, right? That showed someone leaving, or the receptionist leaving an appointment reminder. And then it also talked about if we were going to take a message and what we would do. Okay, if you're not muted, can you mute yourself for me, please? I'm getting a lot of feedback. Thank you. So whenever this receptionist went to leave Mrs. Burke a message about her appointment, was she prepared? Is that a good impression?
Nope.
Absolutely not. I know this sounds like, well, duh, I wouldn't do that. But when you get busy and you have 15 things and you need to be doing all 15 things at one time, it's easy to get lax in that area. And you absolutely cannot get lax in that area. Make sure you have all of your pertinent information in front of you. I keep a pad and a pen. Y'all, I have a notebook right here. I'm not taking phone messages, but there's constantly things that I need to write down. I'm a sticky note queen. I probably have every sticky note name. I have these everywhere. They're just a heart. I have some with lines on them. Find something that works for you and make sure that you have it all the time. Okay? Especially in your office. When you go to your medical facility, someone's going to ask you to do something, or a patient's going to ask you something, and you're going to have 50 other things coming. How are you going to remember that? I'm not that talented. I have to write stuff down. So I just want to just stress that it's so important for you to be organized in your desk area, in your thinking, and in what you're doing. And part of that is being able to write things down. Okay, so when you call a patient, one of the things that she didn't do, whenever I would call a patient, I would say, if I was leaving a message, good morning, this is Marcia with Red River Cardiology. I'm calling for Mr. Jones. I have to speak to Mr. Jones about something, oh, I just messed up, y'all. Y'all are looking at me, and so I went, okay, let's try it again. Hello, this is Marcia with Red River Cardiology. I'm calling for Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, I need to give you for you to give me a call back at 318-229-7468 at your earliest convenience. Thank you very much. Click. Okay, I'm not calling about an appointment. I'm calling about Mr. Jones has maybe a balance on his account. Do I need to leave that on his answering machine? Because we just talked about, or we just talked about HIPAA. Does that violate HIPAA? Not necessarily, but is it more than what you need to leave? That minimum necessary standard, remember we talked about that last week. You only give what's necessary. Now, if I was reminding Mr. Jones that he had a 2:00 appointment with Dr. Davis, I could just say, hi, Mr. Jones, this is Marcia with Red River Cardiology, calling to remind you that tomorrow you have a 2:00 appointment with Dr. Davis. If you can't make it, please let us know. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye. I didn't say what kind of doctor he was, what he was having. Yeah, this is the cardiologist, Dr. Davis. We're going to do an EKG and a stress test, and we think that maybe blah, blah. All of that's unnecessary, right? Most doctors' offices don't make personal calls anymore. They'd have what? An automated. But not everybody's like that. I'm telling you, y'all, my pediatrician calls me. I got 5 kids. Not all of them do a pediatrician anymore. Only 2 of them do, but they still call me personally. They call me 2 days before the appointment, the day before the appointment, and sometimes the morning of the appointment, because you know what? They want me to come to that appointment. Because if you don't show up for the appointment, what happens? You miss the time slot. There's nobody in the time slot. You miss the money. And this is a business, right? Okay, so on the opposite side, taking a message. What are some of the things you need when you take a message? Of course, you need first and last name with the spelling. Now, if you have a John Smith, how many John Smiths are there out there? A lot of them. So you have a large practice. So how are you going to find out which John Smith is leaving a message? What are some of the ways?
Their birth date, date of birth.
You can use their date of birth. What's another way?
Last 4 to social.
Last 4 of the social. What's another way?
Insurance information.
Insurance information. What about what, Jill? What were you thinking, Julie?
The phone number.
The phone number. Address is another one, but I want to warn you with phone number and address, because what if you had a John Smith and a John Smith Jr. and they live together? So I'm not telling you you can't use that, but I'm saying if it's a very popular name, and you know that, make sure that you use last 4 of the social, date of birth. I like the last 4 of the social, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if you have 500 John Smiths in the state of in Alexandria, Louisiana, you might have 2 or 3 that have the same birthday. I'm not telling you that's the way your facility is gonna want to do that, but that is how I always learned. First and last name with spelling, last 4 of the social security number, and then the date of birth was always the 3rd. Okay, and I just thought of something that I'm going to tell you to stick in that little toolbox we're always talking about. When you guys are putting in patient information, make sure you mark male or female correctly. Guess who spent 2 weeks working a denied claim, and all that was wrong is I had it female and it was male? It was that simple, but I overlooked it over and over and over and over. It was hilarious, and it happens to everybody. But when you start your career, I want you to automatically say, okay, what did she tell me? Let me make sure that that's a male and not a female. Medicare was like, I'm not helping you and telling you what's wrong. They knew that we had the wrong gender, but they're not going to help me because then they have to pay me, right? So, that's one of those little things that, I still have students call and say, I cannot get this claim paid. What do you think? And the first thing I say, check gender. Sometimes that's it. I don't even have to have been the one to put in the information. Somebody else could have put in the information and it may be wrong. Social security number may be transposed. Putting in so many numbers, you can get a little dyslexic, right? So sometimes it's hard to check all those numbers, but take your time. Okay, so, all right. So we talked about what we need when we take a message. We need name, spelling, how to make sure that we have the correct medical record when we pull that up. And another thing is we want to know why they're calling. You don't want to know their life story. You just want to say, woke up with a fever or out of medication, whatever the simple message may be. But please do not forget You need to know, if you have more than one doctor in your practice, you need to know what physician you're taking the message for, right? We need to know where it's going. Who is this really for? Those are just little things that you're going to be able to practice, and you have been practicing in your EHR, in your simulation playground. And I also want to remind you that our next module, all we're going to be doing is sim charting. So if you're unsure about some of the things, don't worry. We have another whole module to go where we're going to be learning. You're going to be going, okay, I'm sick of the sim chart. I know it by now, and we're going to move on. So if you're feeling a little unsure about some of the things, I don't want you to worry. We have more of this coming. It doesn't end with this module. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to talk about where we go in the sim charting to actually find where we're going to put a message in. So if we go to front office and we go to correspondence, this is all of the different kinds of correspondence we can have. If you go to phone message and you just click it, and this is where you're going to fill in what the phone message is. So let's go back. We'll do that again. Remember, we went into our simulation playground. We go to correspondence. Well, it won't let me move. Hang on. Cancel it. Okay, so we go to front office, correspondence. In our info panel, it gives us all these different kinds of correspondence we can actually do. We're going to click our phone message. And we're actually going to fill in our phone message here. Understandable? Pretty easy to do? Did you learn something? Maybe you didn't learn something new, but maybe I reminded you of something. All right, so we're going to do a critical thinking question. I'm going to read it to you. In your opinion, are there any healthcare problems that should not be treated via e-visit, telehealth? So are there any situations that you feel as though telehealth is not acceptable?
Yes.
Okay,
women.
Melanie, and what, give me an example.
So if they're worried about heart palpitations or blood pressure, blood levels, like labs and stuff, they do need to make sure that it's being the blood pressure is being taken right and all that stuff.
Okay, so yeah, they really, if you're having heart palpitations, you don't want to wait for a telehealth visit. They're going to send you straight to the ER. Can anybody think of another scenario where you do not need to do telehealth? We have a huge one going on right now, COVID-19. If you're showing COVID-19 symptoms, telehealth isn't going to do you any good. They're going to send you to get tested, right? It's a waste of time and your effort. Okay, let's turn it around. What are some things that are good for telehealth? What could you use telehealth for? Go ahead.
So for my grandpa, he's on oxygen and he just needed a simple checkup after he got out the ER.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to pull up the doctor on my computer so they can talk, and then we just they talked about how he was feeling and what medicines he needed refills on.
Okay. Yeah,
Because he
that's a good
couldn't
one.
really
Just
get
a
out of the
basic,
house.
yeah, just a basic follow-up. Can you think of something else? I'm gonna
Probably
put somebody on the
psychiatric.
spot. Go ahead, Kelly.
Probably some psychiatric.
You can do telehealth counseling. My children have done telehealth counseling. Okay, what if you have a sinus infection? You're having sinus issues. Is that something that telehealth can do? Absolutely. Right now, it's a little iffy because sinus and COVID, some of that can, but if you're not having a fever and you've had sinus issues before, can anybody think of anything else?
Something that's like a pre-existing condition that you take medicine for, that you get a prescription for like annually, instead of having to go in to get that prescription physically, they can do it through telehealth.
Absolutely, unless they need to do blood work to be able to test that. But some clinics now will do your blood work first and set up a telehealth appointment for after your blood work so they can discuss that with you. Okay, I'm going to ask a question. Do they recommend telehealth visits for new patients?
No.
No.
Okay, can somebody tell me why?
Because the doctors will
Okay, Kelly.
Hezekiah, are you answering?
well, I didn't want to over talk anyone else.
No, you're good. It's hard on Zoom. You go ahead, Hezekiah. We want to hear, and then Miss Elise, you can follow up.
Okay. Yes, a new patient will always prefer to come in so they can bring in their information, get new charts done, all of that taken care of, and just to see the person up close and personal anyways.
That's a great answer. What about you, Miss Elise? What do you think?
That's the same pretty much what I was gonna say to you. They prefer you coming in so that they can get all the updated information that they need to place in their chart, so that if you're a new patient, then they have all the diagnosis, medication, or anything that you've been on.
Very nice. I like that answer. Okay, does anybody have anything they want to talk about or expand upon anything, or any questions in any way? Antoinette's raising her hand. I know you weren't. I knew you weren't. She was scratching. All right, well, it was wonderful to see all of you guys. You guys know that my favorite time is whenever we spend time on Zoom together. It really is.